Shalom, family. Happy Purim. So, and we are beginning day 2 of our Purim celebration, and we are going to continue reading and breaking down the Book of Esther, as found in the Old Testament, and the rest of the Book of Esther, as found in the Apocrypha. Okay, and if you were with us, last evening, then we've been covering a lot of history, you know, um, with Esther and with Mordecai, because Purim is also known as Mordecai's Day. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. As we know, Vashti was removed from office due to her indiscretion and her disobedience unto her king and her husband. And we see Esther on the rise, moving in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and doing an excellent job in representing the Most High and her people, and how she's presenting herself. So let's continue in the book of Esther, chapter 2, and verse 13. Book of Esther, chapter 2, and verse 13. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. So Esther was moving in such a way that she gained favor in the sight of all those within the palace, and well, of course, not lottie-dottie everybody, but for the most part, because you're always going to have people that hate you or disagree with you. But overall, she was gaining favor, okay, as we've been reading and still reading about. So, verse 14, in the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shaashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. So understanding, the king had other women. He had other concubine, things of that nature, but it was understanding that he's still looking for who's going to be the head woman in charge, the one who acts at the top. This is the queen, the head. So, and still being in a situation where she understood, as the standard was, if the king did not ask for you, if the king did not call for you by name, meaning the king, even though he had other women, he had concubines, hey, he still understood, oh yeah, bring me Jasmine. Oh, you know what? And also have Jennifer, come here. You know what? Bring Suzanne and bring Trina. And he knew by name. And everything was done decently and in order from what it is we can see and read. So it had to be a situation when Esther was called, she had to be called and identified by name, not just bring me some of the women from over there. It wasn't like that. Just bring me a couple of them. Nah, it wasn't like that, and we have to understand that, because modern day, because we're disconnected from a polygynous mindset, we just identify man with more women to be, oh, he must be a pimp. Oh, no, he's not over here. Oh, where the hoes at? Just bring the women. It wasn't like that. No, these women were housed. These women were taken care of as wives. A concubine is a lesser wife. She's still a wife, but just when it comes down to, hey, these are women, but these are women of a lower ranking in order. So these are women that are higher ranking here, So understanding that, and for our people, a concubine was usually one of another nation, whereas a wife was one of your own people. One of another nation would not be in higher authority than those of your own nation, okay, of your own people. Your own people automatically be higher. So now, let's continue. In verse 15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abiel, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So you have a situation where Esther did not take advantage of her situation in the sense of abusing her situation. Just because she could have had so many different things, she wasn't like, oh, yeah, give me that. Oh, I want that. I want. No, she's like, you know what? No, this is enough for me. You need it. Nah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I have enough. That's wise too. That's also part of being shamefaced. I'm not just, as they say, you ain't turning down nothing but your collar. You don't want to be like that, okay? You want to be modest even in terms of how much you are accepting of various gifts and favorite things of that nature. You want to be mindful. You want to be reserved. So that's also a part of you showing wisdom, knowledge and things, knowing how to deal with people. Man, that's a beautiful thing too. And it's so much so that actually helped gain her more favor. People, they love you more when you don't ask for much. And then when you do, it's like, hey, I'm more than happy to help. Versus someone that always wants something, always asking for something. It's a difference. Even some of us have had those experiences oftentimes with others, or you know somebody that knows somebody that's like that. So you've witnessed it. There's a difference. Esther understood that. Again, part of her training and grooming. Verse 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus, unto his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So this is a pivotal moment. Esther going months, time is passing, and she's showing herself wise, moving in excellence, and so much so that she gained favor amongst the people and even the king. Like, man, this is a woman, a beautiful woman, not just in her outer appearance, but in her character, her whole personification, how she carries herself, who she is as an individual is beautiful. Beautiful to talk to, beautiful to be around, even to listen to. Those things, man, that's of high value. And he said, all right, the number one spot, if I got to name anyone who's going to represent me in my house and be queen, receive the title of queen, Esther, man, you're it. Give the royal crown to her. Meaning what? All the other ones, they didn't get a royal crown. They still got treated well. Remember, the other one, they still had maidens, but the number one spot, man, it's like you work in a company. You can still be part of leadership within a company, but everybody ain't the CEO. Everybody ain't the COO. Everybody ain't the CFO. So those are slots that, hey, these positions, you still be part of these are those top leadership positions. It was the same with the women and with the wives that, hey, these are top positions because, hey, got to be order, structure. That's the way it works. And so this was a space to where, hey, the king loved her, and that's beautiful because this is how Esther used her righteousness to put herself in a position of power. She wasn't acting in a form of a harlot. She wasn't taking on an aggressive mindset, aggressive tone. She wasn't being masculine. She was engulfed in her femininity. And that's what caused her to excel and rise. Something that, our sisters have to learn today. Now, verse 18. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. So guess what? That was time for celebration. The day Esther became queen was a day to celebrate. he made a feast that, hey, the king has finally chosen a woman to sit in the office as a queen. And it became Esther's, this is to celebrate and commemorate you and what the work you've put in over the past year, and everything else. So, hey, this is what is you've earned this, because it's only been through your actions, your words, that cause these things to happen in conjunction with the Spirit of the Most High. But remember, the Spirit of the Most High works in accordance to how you're moving too. You still got to put in the work. Most High will help us win wars, for example. Guess what? We still have to fight. The Most High will give us favor. I said before, sharpen our senses. Sense of sight, smell, hearing, sharpen them. And dull the sense of our enemies. Make sure your joints is nice and good, so that way you can have the edge needed to be more successful in battle. And the enemies having the disadvantage. Same with in these situations. Most High, he works a work through us as long as we are performing righteousness. Verse 19. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. So now this is a grown woman. She could be 25, 30, 35, 40. This is a grown woman. But yet and still, she still remembered the teachings of her cousin that adopted her and groomed her and brought her up as a father would his child. He did that, and she understood that. She did not forget, just because she was in an elevated position, that now I can forget where I came from. Now I can forget the teachings and groomings that were instilled in me. She didn't have that mindset. She still said, no, I'm going to move in accordance because I was brought up good. I was brought up right. And this is what you're understanding too. This is also why, because you see, like, dang, why is Purim also known as Mordecai's Day and not Esther's Day? Because you have to understand the work and time that he, as in the position as a father, put into raising her to be who she was, so that she could be able to be a help to the nation. That's the honor, and oftentimes the unsung hero that can oftentimes come with the position of being a father and having a father, that this world, especially our community in this day and age, lacks, not only in terms of having that, but having the understanding of that and the value of that. But this is your understanding, the product. You're seeing Esther is the product of Mordecai's teachings. So it's again giving honor to, man, he did a heck of a job. A great job, excellent job. Because even then, if you raise your kids right, even if you can't get in certain positions, your kids may be able to. You may be able to help groom the next generation in a way to do even greater things than you yourself may have been able to accomplish. Generational wealth. So now, let's continue. Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. The thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. When inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out, and therefore they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. Chapter 3. After these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advance him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So, of course, we're seeing how various events unfolded, okay? And we're seeing, how Haman, the Agagite, came into power because he's a key player, because he's the key enemy unto our people. Verse 2, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. So now, the king gave it and made it acceptable for when it came down to Haman that, hey, one should bow, unto him and serve him and give him reverence in that way. But Mordecai did not bow. He did not give that sort of reverence unto him. In the scriptures, Mordecai also, he's going to explain why at a later time, which we'll read in his prayer. We'll read that at a later time. So I won't go into those things at this time. 3, and the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? So now they say, hey, the king said, man, we should bow to him. How come you ain't bowing? Verse 4, now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, this is daily now, like, man, this has been a couple weeks, you still ain't bowing. And he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. Oh, he told them, nah, I'm good. I'm an Israelite, man. I ain't doing that. So, verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So Haman, he's saying, like, hold up. Now notice, you got so many people bowing, but all it takes is that one. He ain't going to bow? He ain't going to give me that honor? Who is he? What's his name? Where he from? Who is people? Verse 6, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. He didn't, look at that. He said, man, I can't just get him. That ain't good enough. Even though he's the one that ain't good enough. That wasn't good enough for him. For they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So look, he said, man, all of them got to go. Again, he's saying, like, man, if this is what his people is on, what his people is about, they all got to go. And deep, ain't it? Sometimes it be like that. All it takes is what they feel is one bad apple. They all bad, though. From that one, that's probably how they all is. So I'll taste that apple. That apple's sour. The whole tree, all them apples probably sour. Verse 7. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus. So see how the years are passing. Year 7, now we in the 12th year. So Esther's been queen for some years. First month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot. This is where you get the understanding where Purim comes from. They cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. Verse 8, and Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there are certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. So, when you have it in their casting lots, that's part of, both in terms of part of voting. You know, they cast lots, and sometimes it could be in terms of voting. Even if we take sticks. You know, break them, and then, all right, the person with the shortest stick, all right, that's the person that has to do such and such, or that's all form of casting lots and pur in that regard. Another form is even like the auction blocks. They 125, 125, 120, sold. You know, that's also a form of casting lots and pur in that regard. So voting, sticks, you know, bidding, those are all forms of what is dealing with pur or casting lots. So now, reading on, verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasures. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. Now, it says the Jews' enemy for a couple of reasons. When you read about Ammon and Agag, that you read that they come from the stock of Esau, who is Edom. Okay, he's an Edomite. He's an Idumean. Okay, so within the leadership and a high-ranking position of the Persian and Mede kingdom. So, because understanding the Persian Medes, they had mixed multitudes, meaning other nations within their kingdom and within their government. So now, verse 11, the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. So the king is like, hey, that's not a problem with me. If you feel that, to be justified or needed, then yeah, you good. You have, my authority to do so. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over every province and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring. So now with him getting the king's commandment, or the king's permission, I should say, so now he was able to write and seal it with the king's, hey, this is coming from the king. Hey, it's my desire. Once the king said, hey, it's official, hey, it's as good as coming from the king. He was able to do that. 13, and the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. So now, here we see they already had it planned. Oh, we're going to do it on this day, this exact day. This is when it's going to happen. This is when we're going to make this happen and take care of this. They was already planning it ahead of time. They schedule events to happen weeks or months, down the road. Hey, they were doing the same thing. All right, we're going to do this at this time. So, even days later. Verse 14. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people. They should be ready against that day. So, man, now is the situation. Because remember, when we go back and reread verse 12, it said, then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month. So this was it. On the 13th day of the first month, this was, being written to be sent out. So we dealing with the 13th of the first month. So now, when we get down to 13, it said letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces, because they had to spread the word. All them letters, they had to spread throughout all this. Everybody had to be notified. So it wasn't no email and Facebook, things of that nature. People had to go and they had to write all these letters and have multiple people write, send them out to all these places, make copies. So, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women in one day, and upon the 13th day of the 12th month. So in the first month, they're already making plans for what we're going to do in the 12th month, at the end of the year. So they're already making them plans. So now, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey, so to destroy us. Imagine at this time they had plans to destroy us. 14, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. So it was going to be an organized execution and genocide of our people. So have it to where all nations would be able to legally have a field day on our people. Lottie-dottie, everybody could attack us versus the world. Man, crazy, huh? 15. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. So now, here it says, you had a situation where the message was like, hey, let's hurry up, get out, because the king is saying this. That's how they saw it, because hey, he sealed it with the king's stamp, king's signet. So they're like, well, if this is something, this is coming from the king, and we got to make sure this get out ASAP. They wasn't taking that they sweet time with it. They had that priority express mail. This going out next day. So now it says, but the city Shushan was perplexed. Why? Because that's where our people were. So now, let's go back to the rest of Esther, and let's read chapter 13. The rest of Esther chapter 13. It said the copy of the letters was this. So now we're reading the copy of the letters that were written. Was this: the great king Artaxerxes writeth these things to the princes and governors that are under him from India and Ethiopia and 127 provinces, after that I became Lord over many nations and had dominion over the whole world, not lifted up with presumption of my authority, but carrying myself always with equity and mildness. I purpose to settle my subjects continually in a quiet life, and making my kingdom peaceable, and open for passage to the utmost coast, to renew peace, which is desired of all men. And now, when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, Ammon, that excelled in wisdom among us, and was approved for his constant goodwill and steadfast fidelity, and hath the honor of the second place in the kingdom, declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there was scattered a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations, and continually despise the commandments of kings, so that the uniting of our kingdoms, honorably intended by us, cannot go forward. So now, you're starting to understand what it is that Haman had put together. He's letting it be known, in this regard, in terms of how with our people, as if we're just this most unruly, uncivilized people, malicious propaganda. So, propaganda. So today, they call the father of propaganda Edward Louis Bernays. So you can look him up, So he was popular in terms of pushing the propaganda with the Nazis, and they used him to even push propaganda in the U.S. Because he was doing a hell of a job, in Germany and in those places. They used him in America as well. So now, nevertheless, this is propaganda. This is what they're pushing, the envelope that they're pushing to paint you in an evil image so that others see, like, man, if these people's like this, they deserve it. See that? Yes, is to hear, let them hear. Oh, they deserve to get, because you got to think, how can you convince people to go against and pretty much exterminate another people? Oh, propaganda, make them seem evil. Say all the worst of them, so that others will buy in and believe that if these people are this bad, this evil, they deserve it. The problem is when it's not true. It's not true when they not like that. We wasn't like that. And we don't have laws that are just contrary to all nations in terms of just everything. Many of the things are in agreement with. But there's a difference. We have laws that separate us from other people in terms of idolatry. But you read the laws we follow, it was made to make us wise, to give us knowledge and understanding, to make us excellent. That's what the Most High intended. Not things that were set up in terms to destroy, other nature. Or everything is just teaching you how to deal with your fellow man. If not, then how to respect and do what it is the Most High God would have you to do. But propaganda. Let's continue. Verse 5. Seeing then, we understood. And it's crazy because this is the last part of verse 4. It says, honorably intended by us cannot go forward. Like as if we are prohibiting them from being able to operate as a people. As if we're just that bad, we're stopping them from being able to operate as a people. Which at that time, our people, we weren't we weren't nearly as destroyed or lost as what we are today. We don't get it twisted. Our people were much better at that point in time than what we are, today. It's day and night. Kind of think about our people in the 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, versus our people, now in this day and age. There's a night and day difference. Well, how much more so at that time we were more, unified under a common banner versus today, so it was even more so. But yet and still, all this evil talk towards us. So verse 5, seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, and evil affecting to our state, working all the mischief they can, that our kingdom may not be firmly established. You see that? They say working all the mischief that they can. You see, but this is Haman's work. Because you have to remember, this all came about through what? Because Mordecai would not bow to Haman. That is what triggered and caused. Now all this is being written. All these embellishments. All these exaggerations. All these falsehoods. Off of that. Oh, so you just refuse. But now here's the thing. Because now you're starting to understand, well, shoot. It's all coming together because if this was something that could have happened anyway. Imagine if Esther wasn't in the position she was in. Sometimes it'd be like that. Sometimes Most High move you to a place to where, all right, it's for some years down the road that it's going to reveal why you there. Sometimes it ain't all. You may not always know the part you may play in something. It might take some months or some years for it to be revealed. Okay, I see why God moved me here. Or why God moved me away from here. So, and then it's up to you to make sure wherever you at, you perform righteously. So, well, let's continue. Verse 6. Therefore, and we commanded that all they that are signified in writing unto you by Amen, who is ordained over the affairs and is next unto us, shall all, with their wives and children, be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies, without all mercy and pity, the 14th day of the 12th month, Adar, of this present year. So you see that? They said without mercy. Don't show them no mercy. Don't show them no pity because they deserve it. Destroy all of them. The men, the women, and the children. Take all of them out. Could you imagine? They got a hit on all of us. Don't leave not near one of them left. None of them. Destroy the men because that's where the seed is coming from. Destroy the women because we don't need their influence. Destroy the kids because that way if you destroy the kids, they can't grow up and keep reproducing. I want to take you all out. And you have to understand, imagine, and remember, this is an Edomite. Idumean doing this. That's the key, the one that's goading all this, that's driving all this. You understand? He's a cold beast. That's the devil right there. This is a perfect example of a devil. Perfect example of Satan at work. Because devil, that spirit, it works through you and manifests through your words and actions. He's planning and thinking all these things. So imagine how much more so they are as a people today with Esau, Edomites, and them being in power and being the world power, throughout the various countries that they rule, and how they're setting things up against our people to destroy us. Think about it. So much so to root us out, to kill us off through our food, our medicine, criminal justice, everything to destroy us. Man, it's a cold game. Verse 7. That they who of old and now also are malicious may in one day with violence go into the grave. Look at that. They want to take you out in one day with violence. They want to take you out the most violent way that they can. They don't care. But you have to remember, they, being Haman, being Esau, that initiated this. He's the one pushing this. So now, and so ever hereafter cause our affairs to be well settled and without trouble. Verse 8. Then Mordecai thought upon all the works of the Lord and made his prayer unto him. Because remember, this was written. This is part of what's being posted all over. These is what is written, because you read, all right, but this is the writing, all the words that's being posted up in these various locations that, hey, let me see that. What that letter say? Oh, man. Could you imagine being on the news right now? You turn on the channel or somebody call you, hey, turn on the news, man. Hey, it's a trip. Hey, bro, you gonna trip on this. Oh, sis, you need to tune into this. It's getting real out here. What they saying? Hey, President saying right now, he said for all of those minorities, blacks, Latinos, they gotta go. He's making plans at the end of the year. At the end of this year, he's making plans to take us out. And I don't mean to get something to eat. Nah, he trying to exterminate. He said round them all up, anyone you know. He said they're going to use everything they got. They're going to use the database, the birth database, birth certificates. You got a proof of any record. You been born. They're going to use that. Find out where you at, any location on there, any job. Where you put in your ethnicity. You're like when you do a job application, man, that data, they're going to use all that. Find out where you work at, and they round this all up, and they going to kill us. Like, man, this is it. Like, man. Imagine this happening on the news. This is what was going on. That's why I said with the shoot said it was perplexed, it was confusion, chaos. And in other places too. Because people is finding this out. All over. Because imagine it's all over the world, but imagine all over the US. Let's just use that for example. People in Cali, people in Texas, people in New York. And man, this is the case. I didn't finding that out. Don't even spread to other places. Esau, Germany, Russia, and they find out, man, this is the case. They finna take us out like this. It's come down to this, us versus the world. At that time, it was the known world where they were ruling over. So imagine every country, everywhere in which they rule, where you have because you have to put all this in mind in terms of where they were at in their spirit and what they were going through at the time and how big that was. This is what how it correlates. What would be the equivalent, to experience that same anxiety or fear that they was going through. That's the kind of mindset you have to put yourself in. So now we get to Mordecai, verse 8. Then Mordecai thought upon all the works of the Lord and made his prayer unto him. So he's thinking about he's thinking about this, but he's also thinking about the scriptures, the various histories. Dang, you remember that time
with Moses. They remember that time with Joshua when you remember that time in the book of Judges when he was dealing with Gideon? Oh man, what about with Sam? He's forming all that, and then he's sending up his prayer, and this is what he's saying. Verse 9, saying, O Lord, Lord, the King Almighty, for the whole world is in thy power. And if thou hast appointed to save Israel, there is no man that can gainsay thee. Verse 10, for thou hast made heaven and earth, and all the wondrous things under the heaven. Thou art Lord of all things, and there is no man that can resist thee, which art the Lord. So he's thinking like, man, as perplexing as this is, I have a God. I have a power. And that power is in control. He's in grand control. He had to sober himself up, humble himself down, and say, hey, there's hope. Because I serve the living power. The other day, they serve gods of wood and stone, or just Satan outright, But the Most High God, he's in charge of everything. He's over everything. I need to go to him because he can make anything happen. So I need to seek him out because he's the only one that can fix this at this point in time if he so desires to fix it. And I'm hoping and praying he desires to fix it. Let's continue. Verse 12. Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest, Lord, that it was neither in contempt nor pride, nor for it. Because listen to this is part of why he didn't bow. He's letting it be known. So now we'll deal with it. Thou knowest all things, that thou knowest, Lord, that it was neither in contempt. It wasn't because, who he think he is. It wasn't because of that. I wasn't on that. Nor pride. I don't bow to no man. He wasn't on that either. It wasn't his mindset. Nor for any desire of glory. Not to be in a situation so I can be dang, Mordecai ain't bad? Like, dang, that's okay, Mordecai. To gain some sort of name or reputation or something. None of that was on his spirit. That wasn't why he was doing it. So, nor for any desire of glory that I did not bow down to proud Ammon. 13. For I could have been content with goodwill for the salvation of Israel to kiss the soles of his feet. He's saying like, look, man, I wouldn't have had a problem kissing his feet if it was to save my people. He said, man, I'd do that. Some of y'all wouldn't even do that to save y'all people. He said, man, I would, if it was to save my people, I'd kiss that man's feet. That's how humble, I'll be, man, in the situation. Like, my mind, it wasn't on none of those other things, Verse 14. But I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of man above the glory of God. So that was it. That was his reasoning. Neither will I worship any but thee, O God, neither will I do it in pride. So now, that was his reasoning, okay? Now you read in the scripture that there are times where some of our people did, give a certain level of bound to one another in terms of greeting or salutations, around, to their parents in terms of that case, but there was a difference, even like in Revelation, they weren't bound in terms of trying to worship or give this person that worshiping type praise. He's like, man, I ain't finna worship you in that regard. Nah, I ain't doing that, So there's a difference in terms of that distinction. Is you read the scriptures, you'll see that. You see times that angel, they say, nah, like in Revelation, nah, you ain't got to bow. I'm a man just like you. Don't worship me. And he said, worship God, in that regard. So I see you trying to give me the glory and obeisance as if I'm somebody like, nah, I'm of your fellow brethren. But you read at times like, nah, they bowed and greeted each other, or gave a certain level of respect. But they understood that there's limits. It's like with people, yeah. If people, you can idolize people. But you don't necessarily have to idolize people. There's a limit, and there's a respectable limit. And you see some people even in today that go past that limit, and now okay, you idolize. It happens at time with like celebrities, various artists, maybe music artists, actors, actresses, so on and so forth. You see people that, oh yeah, I give respect to, they made some good songs, things of that nature, or made some good, movies or played some good roles. And then you have people who idolize, these people on a level that is unbecoming, of what it is the Most High would want us to do. That's something that Mordecai understood. So when you see other people reverencing, like, nah, that's too much. I'm not going that far, so I ain't doing all that. So I stay within this lane, So you want me to shake, hey, shake your hand. Hey, how you doing, brother? But I ain't finna fall down and I ain't doing all that. There's a level, there's a difference, He understood that. So now, verse 14, he said, but I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of man above the glory of God. Neither will I worship any but thee, O God. Neither will I do it in pride. So he drew the line. That seemed like now is if I'm worshiping. It's the same like in the scripture when he said, hey, don't make you any graven image. In the commandments, it was dealing with in terms of worshiping. You read, they made plenty of, Most High had us make graven, he had us make the cherubims, the wings, and the angel with the wing, everything. Like, we had graven images, even like with making, the sanctuary. We had those things. The difference is, don't worship them. That's the key. You gotta know the difference. He said, hey, just make sure you ain't worshiping these things, like as if they God or something. It's like here. You have images, these little lions here. But ain't nobody up here like, oh, worship this, pray to this, or this is God, or here you gotta rub it 3 times for luck. Ain't nobody doing that. It's just a dumb statue. It's just for aesthetic purposes. So you have that. It's drawing that line and making that difference. So now, verse 15. And now, O Lord God and King, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon us to bring us to naught. Yea, they desire to destroy their inheritance. Because you got to remember, we're the Most High's inheritance. Want to be technical, we're Mashiach Yahushua, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ, we're his inheritance. So, understanding that. It says that has been thine from the beginning. He said he understood that, man, from the beginning we've been yours. Because it was all planned from the very beginning. Predestined. It was supposed to be, before we, Israelites, supposed to be Adamites. So through the lineage of Adam. He was supposed to be, but they sinned and messed up the program. So he had to reinstitute it later on. And he found, okay, let me see who I'm going to use. All right, I'm going to start with Abraham now. And restart the whole process through him. Followed that righteous line from Adam on down to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then, all right, Israel, I got y'all. We moving on the same wave. Same land and everything. Same Garden of Eden, same land. That's a whole nother story, though. So, but he knew that. We're on from the beginning. 16, despise not the portion which thou hast delivered out of Egypt for thine own self. Because that's part of what he was meditating on earlier on the works of God. Like, man, God saved us from our enemies before. He saved us from all the Egyptians that was trying to take us out. We was in hard bondage. So, man, he can deliver us if he want to. And I'm hoping, man, he choose because he can save us again. I know it. Oh, I said, despise not the portion which thou had delivered out of Egypt, because, hey, everybody didn't make it. But he said, man, those that you did, like, man, we here. Man, I hope, man, you're not that offended at us, because understanding, too, they were also in captivity. So hoping even in captivity we have mercy. No, we in a state that we ended up here because we disobeyed, but hoping that you're gracious enough while we here to save us and preserve us here so we can continue to get back to you. Verse 17, hear my prayer and be merciful unto thine inheritance. Turn our sorrow into joy that we may live, O Lord, and praise thy name and destroy not the mouths of them that praise thee, O Lord. All Israel in like manner cried most earnestly unto the Lord, because their death was before their eyes. Of course, that's how it was, and that's how it would be. Everybody, when you faced with death, everyone will cry out, God, please. But that don't mean God gonna hear everybody. Because you got to understand, and that's why the scripture say, hey, seek the Most High early, while there's hope, while he can yet be found. Because you don't want the Most High, well, all right, now you want me to listen? You wasn't listening to me all these days, weeks, months, years, but now you want me to listen. You know, he ain't got to listen to you. Remember, you need God. God don't need you. You tell Moses, man, I'll make a nation out of a rock. You know, say I want. I got the rock people. You know, keep playing with me. Hey, we better hope. I just thank the Most High every day. Man, thank you, because I don't deserve none of the good stuff you do for me. But I'm happy every time you choose to do it. You know, and because, woo, serving the living God ain't no joke. So understanding how the living God operate ain't no joke. He ain't no joke. Let's go back to Esther, and let's pick things back up in chapter 4, okay? Go back to Esther and pick things back up in chapter 4. Esther chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud, bitter cry. I'm sorry, many were doing. He crying, boo-hooing, wailing, because it's like, man, that's heartbreaking to hear. All this is going to happen. Your people, man, we getting exterminated? This is a very sad day for our people. Very sad day. Imagine, this day was originally, the day we now celebrate as a day that was originally set for sorrow, destruction for us. Verse 2, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. So even they started making laws against your law. Hey, you got sackcloth in? Nah, y'all can't come in here. In the morning, say, sorry, can't come through. 3, and in every province, like in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing. Man, people was going through it. Everybody was going through it in their own way. Some people, oh, God, no. Other people, man, this some, like, man, they can't do this. They can't do this. Man, this is, like, man, everybody reacting in their own way in terms of how, because, hey, it's either you're left or right. Either you're going to be angry or you're going to be real sad. You know, everybody handled it different. Some probably committed suicide. Some probably, hey, better I hang myself than them slaughtering me. You know, it was just horrible. It was chaos. What do we do? What do we do? Think about this. Yesterday, everything was good. We was living life. Just going to our jobs, working our 9 to 5. People living my life like it's golden. And all of a sudden, everything just turned to boo-boo that fast. Man. So now, it said many lay in sackcloth and ashes. Great depression for us. Verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. So now Esther's finding out that this is what's going on. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved. It hit her hard too. And she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not. She was trying to, man, my cousin out there, it's my father, man, he all in rags and stuff, man. Here's some clothes and that. Mordecai, man, I don't want none of that, man. Just leave me be. He going, just leave me be, 5. Then called Esther for Hatat, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So she wanted to know, okay, well, what exactly is it? And how did this happen? Why? 6, because, you hear stuff, but you don't necessarily have all the details, so she's trying to get the details. 6, so Todd went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. 7, and Mordecai told him of all that had happened. So he gave him the whole spiel. Like, man, so it's a situation, I'll be at the gate, right? And have become by, man, I was never bound, but it wasn't like a situation where I was, just being prideful of stuff, but it's like they dang near worshiping a guy. I ain't finna worship him in that way, so he giving the whole story. Our people see what happened was, and unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasurers for the Jews to destroy them. So remember, because Haman told the king, man, I give all this money, all these talents to people. I'm going to pay you to destroy them. That's what made it even worse. It ain't just a field day. No, we offering incentives, rewards. Imagine that. They getting them stimulus checks for taking us out. King, hey, every $3,000, everybody hitting everybody's bank account for partaking and taking them out. People like, shoot, we get this for taking them out? Shoot, let me get my guns ready. You got your guns? Yeah, you can use that money. That's what we had everybody buy in. Verse 8, also gave him a copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for her people. So now here it is, the pivotal moment. Now you have it to where Mordecai is saying, like, look, this is everything that's going on. You're the queen. Man, use your position and your authority to speak to the king to try to have this changed or amended so this doesn't happen unto your people. Verse 9. And the talk came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. So the chamberlain came back and, hey, this is everything he said. And she's taking it in. Verse 10. Again, Esther spake unto Hatak and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. So it's a back and forth thing. All right, send him out there. All right, what'd he say? All right, well, tell him this. Verse 11. This is what she said. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. So look, it's even her as the queen. Look, I haven't been called in to see the king in a month. Okay, he hasn't called for me. And if he don't hold that golden scepter out, like, man, I could die. So it's like, look, you want me to risk my life? Like, this is a gamble. Verse 12. And they told to Mordecai Esther words. So Mordecai receiving all these words, like, hey. 13. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. And he had to tell her, again, father moment, don't get it twisted. Don't think just because you living lavishly, living your life like it's golden, you in the king's house, that you think you gonna just make it good and you ain't never gonna be found out. And you gonna escape. And all your people get destroyed, but yet you live. Don't think that. Verse 14. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, you think you gonna sit back and you ain't gonna do nothing or say nothing, guess what? Then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. Because understand, the Most High is still gonna make it happen if it's within his will, but it's just gonna come through somebody else. Let's read on. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. But he said, but for you and your house, they're going to be destroyed. Like, you're going to bring the Most High's judgment on you. Why? And who knoweth whether thou art come to this kingdom for such a time as this? It's like, man, this may very well be why the Most High God allowed you to have this position. This is it. Most High allowed these things to work within your favor that very well could be for you to move on this at this time. Like, this is it. This is game time right now. This is your position manifested all these years. This is the pivotal moment that we've been waiting for, that the Most High called you for, to make you great. This is where it is, 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Let's get 16. We're going to end it at 17. Go, gather together. So she meditated on this. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me. So she knew she couldn't be able to get lottie-dottie everybody. Everybody in this city, we can send out word enough to this city. Let's make sure. So that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So she made it like, man, with all the words that her adopted father, her cousin told her, like, man, oh my God, like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in. If I die, I die. But y'all make sure if I do this, y'all got to do this for me. Y'all got to fast. I mean, y'all got to go 3 days. 3 days, day and night, fast. Some people can't even go a day. You know, go, man, fight. Get your spirit together because, hey, the nation may need you. Fight to be able to fast them 3 days. Because them 3 days, even now, man, them 3 days have power. If you're going through something mild in your life, moderate in your life, significant in your life, you need help, guidance, that 3-day fast reveal things. So, no food, no water, day and night. There's power in 3 days. You got something super severe, boy, I go longer, you know, but there's power in 3 days. 3 days is a healthy, good minute with a lot of things going through. And it should be real reachable and realistic versus somebody say, like, hey, go 7, you know, so it works. So now, verse 17, so Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. So we'll go ahead and end it there, most are willing, you know, in the future. You know, we'll pick things back up to read the rest of Esther chapter 14. But this is the moment of what made Esther special. You know, not just her being an Israelite, but how she carried herself. But when it really came down to it, she was about her people. She jeoparded her own life to save her nation, to save her people, realizing it was bigger than her. You know, and this is what gave her the honor of having a book named after her, and for her example and how pivotal she was in playing a key role to helping to save our nation and listening to the person that was there in her corner many years, you know, looking after her, grooming her, raising her, that when it mattered, she listened to his counsel and still respected him as a father figure in her life, even though she was a grown woman. You know, and she did right by him and her people, honoring the Most High to bring forth salvation unto her people, man. And so it's a beautiful, you know, time to celebrate both Esther and Mordecai for their virtue and their sacrifices, because without them, we wouldn't be here today, you know. So unless the Most High brought deliverance through someone else, you know, but it also goes to show the power, you know, and strength of the Most High and of righteousness. So with that, man, hope you guys, you know, enjoy this Feast of Purim. With that, I say shalom.